Alright, Film Inquisitor episode number 4, I believe. And I decided to move on in camera simply because I keep getting copyrighted the shit out of. And I wouldn't mind it because I don't even have that many views. So, like, it wouldn't really matter that much. But the thing is, like, I had to make this screen blue the entire time in Taxi Driver. And, well, I just thought it would be better to just record me talking because I originally spent many hours editing a version of Taxi Driver with like compilations of clips. But like, yeah, I mean, it just got copyrighted. So it literally didn't allow me to post because there's a thing like partial copywriting and full copywriting, and they don't allow you to post if it's fully copyrighted. So I could talk about the same context of what I talk about, but not layer clips. So yeah. So today I wanted to kind of get into I know like Prunette requested Rushmore. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about Rushmore. And I think I want to begin with like the character priming in Wes Anderson movies. So like Wes Anderson movies are like very much a reflection of like the subconscious of who like Wes Anderson is as a person. Like many of his characters in many movies like are quote unquote above it all, and like they have this like sort of inane sort of like Hinduist style like presence, and they also they kind of like move through the sequence of the film like like these vibrant characters just doing whatever they want. Great example of this is the hotel clerk in the Grand Budapest Hotel. The character itself in the Grand Budapest Hotel, the kid. The movie that shows this the most is the Royal Tenenbaums. All the characters in the Royal Tenenbaums like are very much like in their own like creative realm. A great example of this is the daughter in the Royal Tenenbaums is she goes through a portion in the film where like she's labeled as a genius, and she's just like sitting in a bathtub smoking cigarettes, watching films, because like she's in this pit of despair and she doesn't care about anything around her. She's literally just doing whatever she wants. All the characters in the Royal Tenenbaums are just doing whatever the hell. Like this brings me to Rushmore. So like Rushmore is like, how do I describe it? It's like almost like a reflection of Wes Anderson's like own like upbringing. And I want to bring in a scene. So like one of the initial scenes in the movies is he is in a math class, and he's the main character in Rushmore is daydreaming about like solving the problem really fast, and like kind of like displaying the really fast math problem to the class, kind of like showing off. And this is kind of like Wes Anderson like reflecting on him as like an individual person. Like he's on one end he's like super smart, like he has a super high creative drive, but he kind of like craves and he yearns for this like kind of like supersonic recognition, and that's what he has nowadays. He has these super like like beautiful like cinematography based, not cinematography based, but they have really well done cinematography, and like he has a beautiful discography, and but like on the same end of things, like he obviously is like super egotistical. I don't know him at all, but he reflected on this movie like kind of like making the main character this sort of in a way creative innovator, but also yearning for like approval of everyone around him. Codependency basically. So leaving off on the math scene, we see kind of like later on in the film, the dad of the kid is, you know, he's this very like cynical character who's like an alcoholic who hates his family. So Max Fisher, you know, he's a character that um has this like super like raw creativity, but he he's also like he's also struggling with codependency. Like he needs to be dependent on everyone else. Um and yeah, so he gets to the private school and he needs to meet with the head of school. This is like the next sequence, the beginning of the movie. And he's talking about how you know, the head of school like loves him because he's balling. He's doing all this like the plays, the script writing. You know, this is how it's like reflective of Wes Anderson because like this movie, I think it was Wes Anderson's second out of his discography, and you know, he, yeah, he wanted this was a movie that was like super reflective on just him as a person, and yeah, so Fisher is talking to this guy, and he's failing out at every class because like we just saw it because he's literally daydreaming. He's having delusions of grandeur in class, and then when he's out of class, he's just, you know, going balls to the walls with all the creative stuff that he wants to do. So like, yeah, so then we get to the girl, Miss Rosemary Cross, um, who kind of like symbolizes like this like feminine affection towards Max Fisher, and he just goes like head over heels for her in every way possible, and like we kind of see like the compulsiveness of this character, right? Like he's a character who is just, you know, relentless in whatever he does, and he like has this like stylistic way of like being above everything, but he's not actually above everything. He's more so just like creatively going through everything as he wishes, as everyone else would do. So he's not above everything, more so he's just fluid might be the best way to describe it. And yeah, I think to really understand Max Fisher as like someone who like is a protagonist, and not a protagonist, but a likable character because he's like individual and what he believes in himself, is when he gets kicked out of the private school and he goes to public school. But then in public school, he still like creates plays, and he needs to like get his co-director into the public school to help him with the plays, and then he has like the big Irish character who is the antagonist the entire time around, you know, like they befriend each other because he needs it for a play. So like this kind of like sort of like creative energy is built in with Max. It's not like he's like doing all this at this private school to try to impress the kids. No, like he is the creative force. He is the creating driving force. But this kind of like this sort of creativity like unfolds and implodes into his own life, which we kind of see like this is right. Like it makes sense like a director like Wes Anderson is making this movie because Wes Anderson is like super creatively innovative. Like and he like has like similar endearing qualities to Fisher, and like I guess the perfect way this like inhibits his life is because he kind of like has this like script making mindset, and his script making mindset is like, you know, he uses characters, people as like labels and chess pieces as art. But then when it comes to his personal life and the girl is like trying to learn about his family, he like lies about like he like uses the barber as his like fake father. Um yeah, he tells everyone that his like father's a neurosurgeon when in reality his father is like a working class barber, because like not only is Max just like raw creative, but that creativity like splurges into his delusions of grandeur, right? Like he uses this creative gift he has to manipulate in not a negative way, but a way that in a way that is not like linearly honest, because he wants to make everything flashy. So a great example of this is he goes to the barber, or he tells all of his classmates and the girl that his barber, or his father's a successful neurosurgeon, when in reality his father's a just a regular old barber. But like the shots and cuts in this, you can really like it shows Max's mindset, right? Like just like constantly moving from one thing to the next. You know, when the car pulls up and Bill Murray's character, you know, comes in and like Fisher's talking to him, and that dude is like a nihilist and hates his life, and Fisher like kind of befriends him because both like kind of have like a similar view on the world, right? Like Bill Murray's character despises humanity. Like he's done with it. He's always got a cigarette in his hand, a drink. He's just like he's just tired of like the walls around him. And then Fisher sees it kind of in the opposite point of view. Use the walls around. They both are desensitized to people. They see the people as like a moving matrix that's separate from themselves. But whereas Fisher like kind of almost like romanticizes this matrix, and he thinks about how he can move stuff. Bill Murray's character is just like totally withdrawn, but it makes sense is like why they're perfect friends for that. And a great scene of that is the pool scene, because essentially what happens in the pool scene, you know, he's looking at his wife who's with another man. He looks down, takes some drink of dark liquor, smokes a cigarette, goes on the diving board. Man, I'm just watching this scene back right now. Because I kind of forget some of what happened in it. Yeah, he does a cannonball and he like sinks to the bottom, like underwater. And the little boy goes to get him, and he's like trying to drown himself. And like, right, that has everything to do with like what I've said. Like, this dude's drowning in darkness, and because of that, he sees everybody around him as he's withdrawn. Then Fisher's withdrawn because of his creative talent and his inability to like ground himself with the creative talent, right? Let me explain that a little bit more. Like, Fisher could be a character who was creative but didn't move people around like chess pieces in his mind, right? Like if he was honest at school about how he like if he was honest at school about like the reality of what he is, like lonely with a weak family, he could still be a creator. Like he could still write scripts, but like that ego flashiness isn't there. And that goes back to his delusions of grandeur in the math class, right? He doesn't actually care about the math problem. He cares about everyone seeing him doing the math problem super fast, right? So the math problem is symbolic of his scripts. The scripts are the piece of work, or the plays, because Fisher does so many plays during the course of the movie. The plays are the math equation. Instead of Fisher being really into the art itself, the art of writing, the art of doing all this, he cares about these plays because he cares about how the grand public perceives it, right? And Wes Anderson, who became a super famous director, this is kind of like his expressionless, him like kind of like evolving as an artist, and him reflecting back on his young adolescent years, his years at Texas creating films, and realizing that, you know, the art of like what should be happening is about the equation, it's about the script, it's about the piece of art. It's not about being flashy towards a grand audience. And this point can be proven even further because Fisher uses his plays to try to impress the girl. But like this is where like the story is so carefully intertwined, right? Because even if you're egotistically, you know, creating these equations, creating these scripts to impress people, there's still like a good amount of love and a good amount of juice, like like Fisher isn't like a complete egomaniac, right? Like, yeah, he loves the exhilaration that comes from like being this grand script writer. At the same time, even though with this like ego, he still is able to like generate like love. He's able to connect people. He's able to do so much stuff with these scripts that he's creating in the movie. So it really shows like what the internal head of like a great director, right? Because on one end, like the ego is there, but on the other end, like even if the ego is there, the scripts that they're creating, the movies that they're creating are like creating like a lot of love for everybody that's like watching them. So like both the ego and the script itself is carefully intertwined, right? Because if we go back to the original scene, the math problem getting solved super fast, like at the end of the day, Fisher does long for doing things effectively, and Fisher does make the scripts effective, but in the midst of everything, he has this crazy ego. But he's almost like the victim. Fisher's like the victim of his own ego, because he's gifted with this like he's this lonely character who's like gifted with this creative talent, but the creative like talent almost imploded onto himself, and because of that he is not grounded, and then he is the victim of him being not grounded because his imagination's outletting with everyone. Like it's just like constantly spiraling and going to all the characters and all the characters' business. And yeah. Yeah, a great scene of this is like Max repeatedly ignoring her request to stop courting her. And in one shocking scene, he even fakes an injury to get alone with her in the classroom, where he physically advances on her and tries to force himself on her. Right? So, like, this has everything. I don't want to be redundant. Like, this has everything to do with what I've been saying. His creativity is folded onto himself. He's not a grounded character who is just, like, writing these scripts. Rather, like, he is the screenplay. Like, he sees himself as the script writer. And because of that, he has, like, delusions of grandeur, doesn't follow any boundaries, and goes into the classroom and fakes an injury so he can force himself to the girl. And, like, yeah, the famous line, like, but she's my Rushmore. I think that, let's see this thing.
Said you wanted me?
When?
Right now. You said you wanted to put an end to all this.
Oh yeah. I was gonna try and have that tree over there fall on you.
That big one?
Yep.
It would have flattened me like a pancake. What stopped you?
What's the point? She loves you.
She's my Rushmore, Max.
Yeah, I know. She was mine too.
Yeah, I mean, man, that scene is beautiful. I mean, yeah, I just like Fisher's like the victim of man, I really do like that scene. Fisher's like the victim of his like mother passing, and you know, the father is he, like I said, he lives a cold, isolated life. So at the beginning, the film kind of like unfolds in depth with Fisher, which is what Wes Anderson does in a lot of his movies, and is a quality of a really elite scriptwriter, to like detail the character in like sort of like this like the perfect image to show this is like almost like a portal, like a black hole. So like a picture like the one particle in the black hole, and then the ring in the black hole, right? Like there's no sort of ideal with script writing, but a lot of really good movies, the character kind of like evolves like this black hole. So at the beginning, there's like one point, and then through like an array, going up, down, around, not in a linear circle, like by the end, you see like the duality and the totality of the character. That's exactly what Wes Anderson does, right? Like at the beginning, it's really quick. Like there's quick sequencing. Delusions of grandeur in the classroom, goes over to the principal, like doesn't needs to get his grades up, but like look at all the other stuff he's doing. He's a charming man. He's wearing a suit. He's going around. He's running the school. He's pointing everywhere. It reminds you exactly of Wes Anderson. You know, always wearing those fancy suits, and being that sort of way. But then like at this scene, like right, he's like cross-legged, sitting in nature with his late mother, and the character, Bill Murray's character, kind of goes up to him, and they have an exchange. And I just a note on that, like, yeah, Herman and Fisher's interactions are so funny, right? Because of what I've addressed already, they both are so like withdrawn from like the dependent variables of like the characters around them. So they like have these grand seeds where they're just like constantly fucking around with each other. Like Fisher's like trying to like he's calling like, oh, I was gonna drop a tree on you, right? Because they're both so withdrawn from societal norms. They're doing these grand tactics with each other because they don't give a shit about anyone's opinion of them. They both see like people's opinion of them as weight, among many other things. I mean, it's not just that, but yeah. And then, yeah, like Miss Cross, he's like obsessed with, and this kind of goes back to like this has a lot to do with like a lot of topics I cover, right? Like you see this all the time with like elite directors like David Lynch, Wes Anderson. There's this kind of like unfolding duality in movies between stillness and movement, right? So like Miss Cross, like she's the crap, like, so back to scene one, right? Fisher's like longing for this like huge rush of like notoriety and acceptance, like almost like this sort of like drug hit. Like this is the exact thing he's doing with Miss Cross. Like he's chasing this massive like female validation, and like through his creative act, which is the math equation, he hopes to get the recognition. And but like when he's sitting still with the grave with his mother after he lost Miss Cross, after there's no type of recognition possible to get, you know, he's growing as a human being because he did all the math equations he could possibly do, right? He sees the people as the math equations, but he still wasn't able to get that exhilaration hit of Miss Cross. And it's showing him growing as a character because he's now unfolding and realizing that when it comes to his creation, when it comes to his value as like an intelligent human being, it shouldn't be about this massive external validation. Yeah. So leave questions for me in the comments below. Yeah, I mean, I think this movie is beautiful. The character development is awesome. And I love watching any sort of Wes Anderson movie because, I don't know, I sort of personally, I personally appreciate these characters that just are like constantly in creative motion, like whether it be the Grand Budapest Hotel, Rushmore, the Royal Tenenbaums. I love the characters in the Royal Tenenbaums, but all these characters are like, you know, they don't care about what anybody thinks of them, and they're just like constantly like creating whatever it is they want to do. And obviously, yeah, it's Wes Anderson's subconscious, his psyche. He's the same way, constantly creating. And yeah, Rushmore, great movie.